All right, it's time, everybody, for the best panel of the post-show of the convention. It's the post-show podcast roundtable panel in the post-show of the convention.
Yay!
Woo. Yeah. Willkommen!
Record crowd.
And also haben a good day. My name is Chris. My internet name is Vangelis. I'm part of WTF at TFW. So is the guy in the middle of the table.
He's also Chris?
No, he doesn't get my name. I thought he was going to just cut in and say what his name was.
Because last time you kept going and introducing me.
Yeah, that was last time.
Yeah, okay. Hi, I'm Aaron, or AKSMTH on the internet, anywhere.
Except TFW.
Axsmith.
Well, yeah, that it went back to Aaron. Just because somebody at one point in time in a podcast like Thread was scared that, like, who's this other AKS? And just like, no, that's don't try saying the screen name because it wasn't meant for that.
We're also
Axe
joined
body
by,
spray.
we got a podcast panel's second timer, underscore Zeus. That is his real name. No, it's not.
Actually, it is my real name.
That is his real name.
Stop spreading lies.
After the panel, he went to go to a judge and get all of it fixed, and now you're saying it's not. He's going to have to change it back again.
It was especially difficult because I live in the States and this is Canada.
But you pulled it off.
I did.
You found the embassy. And you're here with Steel City bots primarily.
Yeah, because we haven't done an episode of Misaligned in months.
You know what that means? It's time for a new episode of Misaligned.
Great, I'll have to read the Align Continuity Wiki again. That's always fun.
Oh, man. I remember...
So do you cut this way or this way?
I cut this way right here. I'm like a starfish. They just grow back.
That's a lot darker than I expected. Did the monster not take effect yet?
No, it's about here right now.
All right. Well, also joining us from Transmissions is Daryl, the Cybertronian Beast.
Hello. Let's talk Transformers.
Unfortunately, not with us for this podcast panel is Charles. He had an emergency, he had to take off. All's well, though.
All is well. Yes.
So,
best wishes to Charles. He got home safely Saturday night and is relieved by the news that he got there. Yep.
All is
good
well
with Charles.
Send Charles your best until he makes his way back to that internet. However, filling in his spot, we have someone who won from the charity auction. The podcast panel spot won for how much?
He paid $90.
And what did the last one go for?
$30.
Daryl is a 300% increase kind of guy, even though...
Is it really? It's not 30.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got off cheap.
Yeah.
I like how everyone's turning to look at the winner of last year's spot is chilling out in the front.
That's right.
Cackling.
Joke's on you, I got here for free.
I got to admit, we were kind of taking credit. Really, the thing that's different is Jeremy made that really nice certificate.
He did, and it's here. We have it here. I totally forgot a Sharpie, though. We got to write his name on it because it's still blank.
It doesn't have my name, so if any of you has a spare 90, I'll take it now.
It's for charity. No, it's not anymore, is it? The charity auction.
Well, it's the charity of me.
Okay.
It's for the charity of his bank account.
Well,
Absolutely.
why don't you introduce yourself, dear charity auction winner?
Why, thank you. So my name is Sergio. I'm Third Sergio on Twitter. I'm actually a supporter and follower of the Transmissions podcast. I got my little Transmission shirt here. It's actually my first TFcon and first time in Canada. So this has been...
Welcome.
Thank you. Needless to say, this has been a lot of fun, and I'm very, very broke.
That's what these conventions do.
Yeah. Anyone out in the crowd very, very broke? Oh, no. That's a lot more hands than I thought I was going to see.
It was a lot happier.
I guess that's why y'all are here. All right. Well,
We'd go eat, but we're out of money. The plastic hurts my mouth.
kind of hoping you guys would give away suspect processed cheese in weird colors again. Sure could go for a bite, to be honest.
No, I remember, no.
That was bad.
Oh, no.
Who wants a granola bar? I found it at the bottom of my backpack.
I'd take that over the cheese from last year.
Was the cheese
sure it
that
was
bad?
It was bad.
Okay.
It was really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jeremy.
Yeah.
So we're going to kick off with some talk about this convention. I want to talk about the panels you dug if you saw a panel that you really dug, let's just do one so we can just like barrel down the line. Let's start off with our charity auction winner. What was a panel you saw that you were really into?
So I wasn't able to see all of the panels this for my first time, which is good. I spent more time in Artist Alley than anything, but I did manage to catch the first James Roberts and Nick Roach panel where they spilled all of the beans, talked about how their next plans for the rest of the issues coming out, and if you didn't get it, I can't tell you what happened.
It was the Secrets panel, the
Secret
spoiler panel.
Yeah. Secret spoiler panel.
Here's a stick with a PDF of the rest of Unicron. Don't tell anybody.
Exactly. But no, it was a lot of fun just to hear, not just from James and Nick, but from a lot of the fans who were absolutely in support of everything they had done in terms of the stories they wrote and created, and it was really nice to just see this like wave of praise for those creators. This was probably my favorite panel.
I think it was a healthy show for a lot of the creators and artists who were down here. We should mention, like, many thoughts out to Nick Roach's situation. For those who don't know, he had a theft from his table occur, and it has, as far as I've heard, been very rectified, at least within the community. And it was a beautiful showing, I think, of how strong a community the TFcon and Transformers fandom as a whole is for its artists and creators. I was quite touched.
I'm still getting notifications about the image I tweeted out this morning. So where they set up some of the badges that you saw the ladies passing out earlier, they decided to donate all of those. And any donation that you made, you give money. And I took a photo of that first thing this morning, and I just got a notification that even though the dealer room and everything is closed, apparently you can still go buy those badges because people don't realize that there's in time. But it's good. It was amazing to see the outpouring of people and people almost beelining over to that table instead of the other dealer tables to get deals.
Yeah. And just to watch the line. People didn't mind waiting in that line, and it was, and Nick's the gracious guy that Nick is, and just to spend the time with everybody still to talk to them and thank them and sell the stuff that he has, and the people still waiting to talk to him and waiting, and it was fantastic. I was very touched to see the amount of outpour that he got. It was a really good showing from the fandom.
Yeah, it put I don't even want to say nice ending because it's not like the nicest ending, I guess. But it was a positive note to end on for something that I found really infuriating to hear yesterday. That said, infuriating to hear, Daryl.
Yeah.
Did you see any cool panels this year?
Well, I was in the room for 3 panels, and 2 of which I was on, so that would be self-serving if I said those were my favorite. What a great
especially that Sunday podcast panel.
Yeah, the one that's currently happening. That's
the way it ended, though, was kind of tragic.
But, I went to the one with that you were putting on this afternoon with the... why do we collect and that kind of one. That was really good. You did a good job with that, Chris.
Thank you. I got to throw a shout out to Daryl for putting up with, aside from me like yelling at him by name several times, at the very end basically screaming at him to spend a week with his DX9 Gavolt, because I figured that he was cool with it, and I was like, hey, let's end on a loud upper.
Yeah. No, you're right though. I do need to pull it out of the case and just mess around with it, because I drastically want to mess with that thing, and just looking at it bugs me that I don't do anything with it.
Yeah, do it, man.
I should.
I'm there for you. Well, I'm there for Gavolt more, but I'm part and parcel there for you. Aaron, did you check out any panels this year? Did you get a chance to?
Not really.
Yeah.
At all.
You were really cruising around.
Saturday was a bit more Artist Alley, and than I had been before, and doing more of the meeting people and talking thing, and then similar to Daryl, the 3 panels I hit were this one, our first one, and then sitting in during your Why We Enjoy the Toy, and also getting heckled at a little bit.
Well, Aaron, in your case, I wasn't even trying to heckle you. I was mentioning people who do a collecting thing, and I turn and I look and I see Aaron doing this.
I had something in my eye. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Just like, I've never seen someone do this, the very minor flipbird nose scratch, but also while staring daggers. It's like he's doing the subtle thing unsubtly. Well, thanks to two of you for checking out the panel.
Yeah. No, and it was a good discussion, and it runs a lot of good points that are good discussion things, and it's almost a thing that I wish that we could have almost like the bar experience, but not like this bar where it's always loud of like, hey, sit down and talk about this sort of thing, and be able to throw that sort of discussion
Speaking
around.
Room.
Yeah, because then there's things that I think there are a lot of people that even still have misconceptions. I got in a discussion at a couple of months ago on, I think it was like Reddit or something, where somebody was very upset about Hasbro's distribution to their store.
Somebody was upset on Reddit?
Yeah, I know.
What?
I know. It happens sometimes.
That's totally a 4chan thing.
But it was definitely one of those things. It was like this guy had apparently in his brain that like they make the toy in Vietnam or wherever now and then put it in an individual box that then gets walked to his Walmart and opened up. And it's somehow Hasbro's fault that a thing hasn't happened. It's like, well, no, there's like, the manufacturing side of things and the engineering side of things, which I enjoy, of like, no, there's a lot of layers to this stuff, and it would be really cool to have, a discussion along those lines to peel apart some of that stuff, and everybody can learn, and everybody's, own ways that they have their bits and pieces where maybe not directly related can suss out this sort of thing for a wider audience, and then be able to help maybe distribute some of that knowledge out, so that when the guy starts getting finger pokey about how that guy missed wave 2 at his store, it's like, well, no, it's a giant production machine.
I'll say it so someone said it. The best way to also avoid those arguments is just not go on Reddit.
Yeah, well, it's more so I like seeing it, and I like being able to take part in the sharing of information where it's people that are amenable to that, and it's always the same issue with how I always make the joke, because somebody has to about showering, bathing, personal hygiene at a convention.
It's Sunday.
I know, and
people don't have to bathe anymore. The convention's over.
Right, but it's still like, I would say 99% of the people that were here at TFcon did just that, but the one person walking through that's smuggling cheese in their armpits is the one that everybody remembers, and you're like, yeah, it was stinky in there. Well, no, it was one guy that was stinky in there. You don't remember the 99 that were just fine.
I'm also hard on Aaron about this only because of the stories you've told about your comic store, where you get in an argument where I'm like, Aaron, you could have just bought your books and left.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's also the place that you go and shoot the breeze. I don't.
I know.
You want to build a good relationship with people at a place like that, and all the other people that are there, and then you have the one guy that gets crazy and assumes he knows a whole lot more than what he really does, and he needs to be put in his place.
That's the monster speaking.
Yeah, it is starting to kick now. I'm doing good.
_ Zeus, if you get tired of me calling you that, by the way, just let me know. For real.
I never get tired of being called that. It really helps out my ego.
All right.
To be called the name of a god.
Did you?
No, but that's actually Zeus. You're _ Zeus.
He's holding up the god.
Exactly.
Yeah. Slowing him down, holding him up. You're right.
Just almost as important.
It's a weird way to parse holding up, but I'm starting to see it, and I'm saying it out loud. Yeah. Did you check out any panels this show?
Yeah, I saw this really great panel on Friday. It was the podcaster panel.
Daryl, he just took your joke. Daryl, hey.
That's the second time my joke was taken. Aaron took it and dropped the punchline, and
yeah, but comedy is the rule of threes.
It's true.
So we set it up for him, and he just kind of went.
He's learning.
I did sit in for a bit of the first James Roberts, Nick Roche Q&A. That was interesting. I wish I could have gone to more panels, but I made the decision to instead sit in my room alone, putting repro labels on figures.
Were you not going to have time in the future to do that?
No.
If I didn't do it now, it would end up in a pile of papers on my desk at home, and I would forget about it.
Having seen my desk, yeah, you're right.
Did you at least order a pizza and have a beer while doing the repro label?
Well, but yeah, I'm going to get pizza grease all over my hands and then go handle the repro labels.
You wonder why I give you a hard time, Malwave? Come on.
Why all your frickin' repro labels fall off?
I got to throw it out there. Malwave's a beautiful person. You'll find out why later.
Why do these stickers not stick? Goddamn Hasbro.
Also, why do these like stark white labels have all this like orangey brown stain on them? I don't know.
I can see through half of them. Why does it smell like Domino's all the time?
It's unfair of me to assume when he says, "Did you order a pizza?" that he would also like try to eat it with his hands and literally eat it through his palms with his hands. But I caught a bit of the other. I think it was the second James Roberts panel with
David Wise.
David Wise. I was about to say David White, and I was like, no, that's the 3D printer guy.
Yeah.
David Wise. I caught the back 15-20 minutes of that panel, and it was really cool. Primarily this one moment where David Wise wrote War Dawn, among other episodes, which is the episode that kind of created the Orion Pax side of the mythology. And he was describing, it was really cool to hear him describe that, but at one point James Roberts was talking about something else, answering another question, where he mentioned, like when we decided to have Megatron defect and join the Autobots, and David Wise went like, hang on, what? As G1 writer going like, things are a lot different nowadays than they were before. That was neat, seeing like the interplay between like a current writer and a writer of the original show of Transformers from '84, I guess '85 with the aerial bots. But yeah, that was primarily the main panel memory I had that did not involve myself. It's so hard.
I found it was the convention was very busy. For myself, anyway, regardless of the fact that half the convention I was down to doing everything myself for my podcast. But there was a lot to do. Like, there was a lot of things to see. There was a lot of pictures to take. There were exclusives, and there was prototypes, and there was shit everywhere. Sorry, are there any kids in the room? Are there any young kids in the room?
We're all kids at heart.
Okay, like poor Evan back there. You heard it. You heard his heart.
I'd just like to apologize to our charity auction winner on behalf of Daryl for the loud cussing.
He did a cuss.
Screaming swear words in your face.
Real
violent
cuss.
I told you, tragic ending.
But it was a lot of stuff to make it around and see, you know? And so you find your way down to the way back of Artist Alley, and you're like, oh wait, this is where they put the prototypes this year, because we have a frickin' escape room now. And
oh, that was weird. Yeah.
So that was interesting. I never tried it. I didn't have time. But was that hard to escape from? I could see through it. So
they don't actually lock you in escape rooms most times.
Huh.
Well,
it was also just like the room.
I mean, if I could see through it to the outside, I felt like I could get out of it pretty easily.
There's my escape.
Like, can I just?
Someone left this window open. They're like, listen, in character, that's supposed to be a sheer drop. And it's like, yeah, but also I want to buy that little bumblebee. So
what's my motivation?
There's a great bumblebee.
Yeah. What? Did anybody find anything? I mean, I'm kind of taking over here. You got a nice list of things you want to talk about. So,
it is very nice.
You know, fuck your list. But
walks in bellowing swear words in the charity auction winner's face.
Kids here. I'm sorry. It's the Transmissions podcast coming out of me. We have explicit tag on our show for a reason. Yeah, but
did you get any Monster? Or did you get a coffee? Like,
I didn't. I'm drinking straight water.
Oh no. Okay.
But did anybody find anything that they were like, not toys necessarily, but come across anything that they're like, oh hey, that's interesting that I didn't expect to see here at the convention?
Oh, you mean like other experiences?
Oh hey, look at that! Like an escape room.
On my list of things.
Is that next on the list?
No, but I can just pretend it's next.
Oh, you better alter your list here.
Copy paste.
Just quickly bouncing off your thing of how much there was to do. It's because I appreciate like how many people bring up like new ideas during the convention Q&A, and that's the reason why things like the fan run panels that like folks like myself and Matt are doing and other people. But also when it comes to things like, you know, idle activities or just like more, you know, I guess just idle activity really, I honestly find myself kind of going like, I don't know that I would even know that such a room exists. Like with the sheer amount going on.
The chill room that somebody asked about.
I admit, for me, the chill room notion does exist in the lobby because I'm fortunate to like bump into a lot of people who are either themselves social or who put up with my attempts at being social. But yeah, it's a surprisingly packed convention given how I go in every year thinking like, oh man, there could be more going on, and then once I'm in here, I'm kind of like, oh god, there's so much going on. When do I have time to eat? Why don't I just skip that?
Wait, did you say chill room or children?
Chill room.
Chill room.
So I didn't know anything about this.
Were you okay? So there was, and it's something that gets asked about every year. It's
a good idea.
Some conventions will have a room that will just have a couple of TVs going in it.
Okay.
And so every year there's the mention of like, hey, could we have a room that just has cartoon episodes going?
Right, and that was asked during Colin's panel, yeah.
And the response that
Colin gave was
Colin gave is like, hey, we've got to have one or two people sitting in there watching everything. And I don't know if the convention proper would pay to have another room open that's just like, I don't know, you can sit in here. Because you have your hotel rooms. There are plenty of other like quiet corners that you can go and find too.
Yeah, and I understand how it is. It is a good idea. Like, it's not a terrible idea, but it is an attractive idea for folks who are trying to also just like meet other people who may be coming to a convention without a circle of friends to make contact with, or etc. And that's why, in podcasting, I always try to just push the message of like how welcoming this convention tends to be to just, if you're in queue, if you're in line, like striking up conversation. If you're in the lobby, a lot of people are at least polite if you if you come up and go like, hey, you into Transformers?
Yeah.
Never to me though. There was like no GoBots go away. That's the rhyme. GoBots go away, right? It's gonna be a T-shirt. Well, I'll buy it.
Hilarious.
But yeah, other experience. I don't know. I want to pop back over to our charity auction winner, since I care about him.
Wait, thank you.
Did you see it? Just generally, like a cool thing on the show floor somewhere?
It was really interesting, especially on the last day, to see how much more non-TF stuff started to come out. Because I'm interested in Black Series stuff as well as Marvel Legends that I don't want to get too crazy in. It was actually I really liked all of the variety of merch, like pins and shirts and things that I could get for other friends or people from work. So it was really nice just to see the variety where it wasn't just toys, even though I was primarily buying just toys.
Yeah, the Saturday Sunday dealer room transformation is something I often forget about, actually, and I sometimes will walk in and like my landmarks have shifted slightly, and I'm like, wait a second. Aaron, what about you? Did you catch something neat?
I don't know. It's always anymore. And hey, when we got stopped at the border for immigration this year, one of the points of discussion was like, what do you go and do with this stuff? And it's, is more and more the social experiences, getting to hang out with people, getting to meet people and, do just that. Hey, we're all in line here waiting on a thing and just pop up, hey, so did you get anything interesting? And 9 times out of 10 when I do that, somebody's like, oh yeah, I got this really cool thing, and start talking about it the 10th time. It's very much the like, why are you speaking to me? It's like, well, we're stuck next to each other for like the next 15 minutes, so we can be awkward or just have a discussion. So that's always the kick I get out of this, the somehow managing to turn from a long time ago being very introverted to pulling myself out more and more. Aaron Archer in his panel at the very beginning of it had a slide from TFcon 2003 with a very skinny, very geeky looking kid wearing glasses right up front and said, oh my God, it was me. And then realizing like, hey, here this is 15 years later, and I think I'm an entirely different person in how I present. And
now Aaron's my handler.
Yeah. That's why I need something else in this monster.
Oh, you handled the Archer monster.
Orange juice is what he means.
Orange juice.
I actually met a young lady who follows me on Twitter, and she seemed like we had gone out to dinner on Saturday night, and when I walked back into the hotel, she kind of beeline towards me to say hello, and I graciously met her and said hello, and we chatted for a bit, and she said, "Oh, I follow you on Twitter, and I like what you post and stuff like that." And I said, "Oh, thank you." I said, "Do you listen to the show?" "No, never heard of it." I'm like, what? What?
I like how fast the answer was there, too.
Yeah. Nope. But she's local to Mississauga area, and this was her first convention, so she was coming out to experience it, and she just lived vicariously through Twitter, and it was fantastic just to interact with her. And then I saw her again today in line for Nick Roach, and she was getting something signed by him, and her goal was to find Rec Room of the Wreckers in the room, and somebody brought it today. They weren't in the room yesterday, but they brought it today, and she found it and picked it up and got it signed. She was blown up about getting it, and it was great. So I was really happy for her, and it's just those nice little fan interactions that kind of make it for you, you know. And I really hope she listens to the show now.
Well, _Zeus. Did you have any interesting new notable experiences at the convention?
Just people being interested in whatever I had out, because usually, like, at home when I'm talking to my friends and family about just Transformers stuff, they have like this kind of half paying attention, eyes glazed over look, because, you know, most people don't want to hear about robots.
Oh, love off to Megaltron. Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah. But here, it's like, I pulled out one of the things that I had bought here a few times just down in the lobby, and it was really cool to see people actually just like walking up to ask me about it and kind of talking about it for a bit, instead of people just me going up to them and them saying,
"Hey, look at this." People are like, "Oh, let me look at that."
Yeah.
It took me a bit to get used to that, where I was like, I'm messing with a new figure, and someone walks up and I'm like, "Yo, what's that?" And my initial reaction is like, "You trying to steal it?"
Justified income.
Yeah.
I guess I'm a little more trusting than you then, because I let people like pick that up, move it around.
I grew up on the mean streets of Victoria, British Columbia, all right? That town doesn't close at 9, that town's dead at 10 o'clock. 9 to 10 o'clock, that's the enigma hour. You never know what's gonna happen then. You might see a deer. Someone might drop pizza on the sidewalk and be upset. You might even see someone over the age of 40. Mean streets. What were we talking about?
Experiences.
Yeah, I had a pretty cool one. I did interviews again, and they felt really good. It's a very selfish experience, I got to admit. But ran quick interviews with David Kay and James Roberts, and they were kind of enforced quick, because it was like in the midst of not only our schedules but their schedules. And I was originally worried about it, but then there was like this sort of fresh energy I hadn't felt before of like, I have about 10 minutes. And it was invigorating. It helps that like James is super friendly, puts up with, for a second time in a row, me bringing up Red Dwarf during an interview. He likes Red Dwarf, FYI. It's just he has more inspirations than just Red Dwarf. And then David Kay this is an utterly selfish part of this answer, but he goes out of his way whenever we're at the same show to come and say hello if we bump into each other in the dealer room, and he doesn't have to. And it's a nice feeling. So we had a good talk with him, just a brief one. They'll be up at some point. There's no big info we're revealing. It's more like, hey, do you want to just...
Well, not that we're talking about right now.
Yeah, aside from like, you know, the live action Beast Wars movie. Aaron, you spoiled it! What? You didn't hear that.
It's not Beastformers, right?
It's Beastformers.
Not that one, like
No, they just like the name. Well, we can pop into now this bullet point's in between the last two that we did now, because we just jumped ahead by one.
Perfect.
Because this is the crux of a Transformers, of a toy convention. It's stuff you got. And I was thinking, let's talk about each one of the things we got. And I would like to, once again, I don't mean to fall into a pattern here. However, I want to make the most of your $90. So
you better.
Let's.
'Cause I'm not.
I will be getting it.
Let's pop over to Sergio. And did you pick up a cool thing?
Actually, it was unintentional during the charity auction. Both of the signed pieces by.
Oh
no!
I mean,
this thing they just gave it to me.
Coolest thing that you can
He
buy
accidentally
during a
tripped,
charity
fell
auction?
over, and
I mean,
kept his
somebody
card
kept
up.
like stabbing me in the middle, and I kept raising my paddle. Like, what's going on? No, actually, when Gary Chalk came out and helped auction off the Beast Wars stuff, especially the Optimal Optimus was really nice, and then he signed the Transmetals Optimus, which is also really nice.
Oh, awesome!
I wasn't expecting. I like Beast Wars. It's what I started with, I guess. I wasn't expecting to get those, and when Gary like looked me in the eye and was like, "This is for charity," You have to do it. I was like, Gary, you're right. I do.
If Gary looks you in the eye, you kind of have to do whatever he says. I mean, he's a commanding presence. I didn't get a chance to say hello to him this year, but, I mean, that dude commands panels. Like, we talk about doing panels. Gary walks in the room, he's like, all right, everyone. The first lesson, panel hasn't even started yet. When you're speaking into a microphone, and he starts doing, he's done this bit before, but it's wonderful. Did anyone catch the panel today? How to get into voice? Did he talk about resonators again? Yes. I love his talk about resonators. He talked about that a few years ago, and it opened my mind when you realize that, like, so when you speak, right, your voice is hitting a certain part of your, this slope on your body, and if you can sort of notice where it's hitting it, not to like redo his whole thing, but like there's kind of 6 particular spots that you can aim your voice to come out of, and then you can do it high-pitched or low-pitched, gravelly or not gravelly, and now you have like some multiple of 6 amounts of voices anyone. Yeah, like at least 12 voices anyone can do. I love that talk. Anyway, I just had to fawn over Gary Chalk for a second. Yeah. I mean, who doesn't? I'm also giving everyone time to get all their stuff out, because we're all doing that podcast thing where we're recording and no one can see us. We're like, all right, what we got this week? Yeah, just was walking down to the store today and just picked up a thing. It's got it right here on the desk, actually. And it's just right over here. Yeah.
I didn't know we were supposed to bring stuff. But
yeah.
Well, you can also just recollect
thanks for including me in that memo.
You can recollect
things. Doesn't your whole what we got trips to the store thing involve video?
Yeah, but this is not transmissions. This is WTF at TFW.
No, this is the podcast Roundtable.
This is all of us together.
Anyway, we're on a team here.
Right. United Front. I don't have anything.
You didn't get anything cool?
I did.
I saw him rolling around with a backpack with a makeshift short box to protect comics.
I did.
And a spreadsheet of what he needed signed each day.
All right.
Don't spoil the whole magic trick here.
All right. I had a fear that I wasn't going to get a chance to see Nick Roach or James Roberts in Chicago. So I brought all their books that I had
How
left.
many?
I brought I almost said 1,000. That would be bad. I brought 100 books to get signed.
That's still a lot.
Because that's better.
Yeah. Wait, hold on.
It's a 10th.
I got to come in for a second. I feel like we literally had this conversation last year.
I generally bring a lot of books, but bringing 100 is well above my norm. They also needed some signatures from Alex, some from Josh, and some from Sarah. But majority was Nick, and I needed a lot from James because I had missed him last year when he went to DC because I didn't go. But so I'm fairly certain that James is upset with me. And he doesn't want to see me in Chicago, which is fine.
What did you do?
I dropped about 70 books at him.
I mean,
wait, you said the...
I'm sorry, can we get that noise again? Because that was perfect.
Did you just actually drop them on him?
No. I was
these
very
done in like 10 minutes.
I was very
just 5 more. Just 5 more. I've got a wrist brace here if you need that.
I did it in very small packets over the course of 2 days. So in my head, it was the best way to do it. Basically,
this noise from over here, like stifled laughter.
I'm like, I would stand there and I would wait graciously for people to come up, and I'd look behind and the person just has one book. I'd be like, oh, you just have one? He's like, yeah. I'm like, you can go ahead of me.
This is very gracious.
I'm like, no, you're in front of me. I'm like, please go.
Yeah. Don't make this a thing.
You need to go in front. So they did, and then I'd go up and they'd say, and James would look up, oh, you're back. Yeah, I am. Here we go. And it was just a small stack, but yeah, over about 70-ish, 80 books I got.
Hold on.
Only?
Hey, it's 90.
No. There was at least 5 books that were not his.
Out of the 1,000.
What?
And there was one in the pile that he had already signed, so I screwed that up. But yeah. And I did buy a toy, so I'll tell you about that. I was able to complete a G1 Thunderwing.
Hey!
So, yeah, that's a good one. So I'm good. I'm happy about that. Thank you. That is a success. So.
I like how we actually have a through line on these roundtables now of how many books did Daryl bring. Didn't we talk about this last year? Someone in the audience says, yes, you did, and it was more.
Well, I'm pretty sure that's why he brought his daughter along, to just like hook the harness onto her. Look, you just need to carry another 200 books for Daddy, okay?
She legit brought her own copy of this to get signed this year. It has started.
The cycle begins anew.
You have such a proud look on your face.
At what point do we teach that, like, all right, don't worry, as long as it's under 100, it's fine.
You're going to bring 99, Daddy will have 99. That way it's under 100 each.
It's cool. I was proud of her.
I mean, I'm glad you got a whole lot of cool stuff signed. I was just like, that was one of those, you ever had those genuine deja vu moments like just now where you're like, but you're so convinced that it's fake deja vu because you're like, no, there's no way. This is that kind of deja vu where you think it's happening, but then someone else in front of you goes like, no, it's happening. And you're like, oh, cool, I guess I'm just in the Twilight Zone.
The kicker for me was right at the end, I was doing my last stack with James, and his envoy was Daniel Proto Man for the weekend, and he said because James was selling toys, his own toys over the weekend, and Daniel said, just bring these to Chicago. And I'm like, fuck. I could have done half of this, and I could have brought them to Chicago, but it wasn't announced, and I was, I was gonna do, my own thing. So
well, they don't have to ship them around.
Yeah.
I don't know, looking for silver linings. This is still like
exactly
a small person-sized amount of books.
Hashtag Daryl's library.
Hey.
Get that one trending.
You could bring another 100 to Chicago. 99 this time.
There may only be like 5 because, I'll have to take inventory now.
Aaron, you've got this, the smallest and best toy of the convention there.
Yeah. So this is New Age Toys Mini Warrior, the Legendary Hero 01 Flipper.
Oh yeah, Bumblebee.
It's Flipper. Copyright purposes. But Bumblebee, yeah.
Might be a dolphin.
It is seeing you with this at your panel when somebody handed it to you and you lost your mind.
So I get handed this thing, and I'm like, I thought I knew how it worked. It's the end of my panel. Someone's like, hey, we're like, oh, okay, we're just going to chill out, some Q&A. Someone's like, hey, just try this thing. I'm like, okay. I start transforming it. Me and at least 15 other people in the crowd are all collectively sharing this epiphany moment of like, wait, how much of this transforms? This thing's perfect.
Yeah.
What? And then I have to go, because that's when I then ran to do the James Roberts interview. And while I'm doing it, I noticed like people coming out of the dealer room with that Bumblebee. And I'm like, wait, no, I'm not causing a sellout of a Bumblebee before I buy it. So after the James Roberts thing, I was like, look after my bags. And I like ran to the dealer room to grab one of the last like 10 Bumblebees sitting there. Anyway, I hate taking credit for things, but I also think it's funny if I cause a sellout where I almost don't get to buy the thing.
You didn't even get a commission?
Of course not. They never. No, all I do is tell people to buy things and then go like, no, I'm sure that karmatically it'll pay me back in the future, which is silly. But Aaron, I trampled on that.
Yeah, you did. Right, just right over top of it.
Just keep going.
No, I was amazed at like I do like the small scale stuff. I also picked up a couple of Iron Factory things, which tends to be like one of my go-tos for convention is when I get those, and this has like the same very small, very posable kind of play pattern, but kind of even smaller, but also like the same or a more G1-y aesthetic than like Iron Factory kind of has their own War Within inspired hard angle.
War Within IDW-ish now.
Feeling, yeah. Point. But it's great if you got one of these. This is kind of one of the convention gets and kind of surprise convention gets of the year. So
when I say best toy, I should say that's my loving hyperbole mode going on, where I'm like, well, no, you and me know I'm trying to, for the folks who missed out on it, I'm trying to soften the blow. I'm going to whisper into the microphone as though only you can hear me, all right? I'm just keeping it down a little bit for them. And you got some pocket-sized stuff too.
Yeah.
We got actually a legit hidden toy right now that you can see.
Except for that time where I moved it up above the table just a little bit. This was walking into TFcon this year. This was the one thing I knew. If I only walked out with one thing, this is what I wanted. War Giant. Because, yeah. I've been eyeing this thing for months, and I thought, okay, you know you're going to TFcon, get it there. And then minutes later, I found out that they're doing it again in Ruination colors, so now I have to buy 2.
Yep.
Well, I mean, you don't have to.
I'm sorry. Did you just lie to me?
I mean, I'm sorry. It's my first time here.
It's understandable. It happens. See, when Ruination awakens, we all just say yes.
Yes.
There's no about it. I'm definitely gonna have to get that.
Yeah. I was happy and then like so mad when I saw that in the case because I was like, this is also one of my favorite toys of the last year, this set, and I'm like, of course you made it in the perfect other colors I want to buy it in. Yeah, obviously.
Is there a shockwave for it?
Yeah, there's not for the Ruination one.
There is a shockwave. It's their bridge watcher.
But he can't hold that.
Oh, you don't.
A bit?
Have you not seen this?
He's doing a bit. This has to be a bit.
So
I really hope it's a bit, because it would be very sad if you didn't know he actually can.
So
there you go.
Is that a bit? Are you guys doing a?
So do we all get a part
amazing.
of the Iron Factory ad money here, or?
No, we just all really liked the pocket scale stuff.
In your case, it was all for charity, so we just passed it along to.
I see. So this for exposure podcast kind of thing, huh?
Yeah, not for exposure. It's more to put you on a platform where people will see your work for what it's actually worth.
Ah, I see.
For exposure.
For exposure.
Yeah.
So this is actually the set that I ended up spending a good few hours putting the repro labels on in my room. And I gotta say, this is one of the figures also that I knew I'd have to get the repro labels for, because without it, the eyes are just a little bit too dull. The reflective red on that, it helps a lot.
That does pull it out.
Wow,
Yeah.
sitting over here, like the light head, the eyes.
Yeah,
It almost looks light piped.
Yeah.
it does, which is better than what looked like light piping, what looked like it could have been light piping, but in reality, there's nowhere in the back for it to pipe the light.
So I didn't know that he had turned it around enough. I thought you were throwing shade because the thing's generally facing us. Oh, no. And I was like, holy crap.
No, I did.
Yeah.
I did turn it so that people could see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, even at that angle, it looks like it's LED.
This is a very solid set. Like, the worst thing I can say about it is a couple of the limb robots have the lower end of Iron Factory transformations, where it's like it's a small toy that has a lot of parts needing to very specifically move past each other.
And a lot of kind of sharp corners on it too.
Is that the one that had the blast off issue for the arm?
Yeah, there's a way they lock in where you really need to undo some of those tabs.
There's a big stress mark just right there, which I've also heard was a problem with it.
Yeah, it does. I haven't had the brake yet. The main brake is on
the little
it's
flap
the
on
head.
the head.
Yeah, the head. Yeah, that's the only part that's ever actually broken.
And I figured out after I broke it why it broke. Is there's
You broke it already?
Yeah, while I was transforming it. This panel here, I didn't figure out moved until very late on.
Yeah.
So it was pushed up right against the head, and the head was getting caught on it.
Yeah. Iron Factory, I like the formatting of their instructions because it's clear, but they still are a little unclear with the actual graphics in the instructions. It's not like the X2 stuff I got where the X2 Jetfire instruction sheet is this big and it has 117 individual photos on it, and they're all about that big.
So you have your like jeweler's loop out jammed in your eye so you can see the
When I was little, I was really big on Kids for Saving Earth, and like things like that just made me go like, this was literally a waste of paper. Like, this doesn't help me. This doesn't help you. This is just a cell shaved off a tree.
Just get Mega Man to save the Earth.
Yeah, where's he at?
Captain Planet.
Oh no, they're making a good Mega Man game. Never mind. The stuff I got aside from the X2 Toys stuff, I decided to jump in on Magic Square because I like little pocket-sized things, and their cabinet display looked real good. So I thought I'll take a chance.
It's apparently a theme.
And then I thought I'll also be dumb and take a chance, and I'll just buy both of like this and Grapple. When logically I should have just bought one because they're basically the same toy. And what if they suck? Then I bought two of a toy I don't like. Happy to report I like it a lot. It's a very G1 skeleton style transformation, leads to a quite nice feeling posable robot. The plastic is very akin to that Golden Age early Warren Pocket feel, whereas now Warren Pocket I find often goes very up and down a little bit. This reminds me a whole lot of Gartanel and Speedoo. Anyone remember those fellas? Anyone remember a whole internet trying to, with a straight face, say Speedoo? Because I don't. Everyone laughed.
Wasn't there a rumor that those were going to be combiner names? Wasn't there a rumor going around that Grapple and Inferno were going to be combiner?
Oh, power linking. I didn't hear that rumor, but I don't see anything on them that'll do that.
There's some image going on, some rumor.
I thought maybe this might have been a thing, but that's about it. Like maybe here now he's an arm. There, he's a Megazord arm.
They showed the legs. They were legs on that.
Oh. Yeah, I hadn't seen that. But the transformation on this is quite nice. The plastic has good hand feel, as we like to say in the business. Yeah.
I feel like it's just
all the whole community, the whole Chris Ho community. We really like to say hand.
Sorry, I was having a minor stroke there.
Aaron's my handler.
There's a lot.
But yeah, I ended up also just grabbing a whole bunch of art today. In fact, I started eyeballing that Generation Toy Op-X as I have for the last 3 conventions I've gone to in the final 5 minutes. And once again walked away this time because I realized I hadn't bought any art from Nick or Sarah, and I saw the two of them sitting at their tables through the open door in the dealer room, and it was like a cinematic moment where I was like, no! I must resist the allure of the robot toy and purchase artwork. And it was weird when I said that out loud and everyone gave me a funny look, but it was worth it for the moment. So yeah, that's kind of my gets, really, right? And I guess that brings us to the final couple bullet points here. We're running some good time. We do have to be done in the next half hour. So I really want to quickly throw out that our attempt that we mentioned on Friday to run a small-scale Magic the Gathering convention during y'all's robot convention worked. Mm-hmm. We played some Magic. We played some MTG. We played some Richard Garfield OG spell slinging. Some of that Wooburg War.
Yeah, they get it.
A little bit of that artifact. Affinity, touch of that tap down land games.
It was actually nice. We played a round of Commander with a bunch of pre-con decks, and I made him just scoop.
Yeah, because you top decked Atraxa, you coward.
I did not. It's a Commander. It is in the Commander zone to begin with.
I meant the deck. You top decked the entire deck.
Yeah, it did well, and then it was fun just being like, who dies? Oh, you die.
He's just sitting there going,
next.
What's proliferate mean again? Oh, all the counters go up. The 20 million counters I have laid out on my entire board. That's for all you Magic folks out in the crowd. But we also had some raffling stuff to do, and then because I'm looking after all of the equipment on our end, I just wanted to quickly self-aggrandize there to cover for the fact I forgot to bring the raffle tickets down. Daryl came up with an idea to do some non-raffle raffling.
That's right.
Are there weapons under a chair?
Yes. No. We are going to do questions. So we have 7 raffle prizes here, which are now going to be question prizes. So if you have a question about podcasting or a question about something or other, come up or to the microphone, ask a question, and then you will receive a prize.
And
we will be grading your questions as to the level of the prize that you get.
Perfect.
So
Perfect.
I do have the most experience here, so I will expect you all to direct them to me.
Oh, of course, of course. So, since you guys are podcasters, and
Yes.
since we're in Canada,
Yes.
and Canada has certain special little governing bodies in terms of radio, telecommunications, television, does podcasting fall under the umbrella of the CRTC? And are we meeting
It's a good
the
question.
Canadian content requirements of the podcast?
I'm Canadian, and Daryl's Canadian.
That's right.
Yep, I knew that.
That's enough points under CRTC to
It
nail
would,
down some
if it counted, which it doesn't.
Oh. All right.
Wait, yours doesn't count CRTC?
Nope.
You don't get funding?
No.
Oh.
We don't need funding. We have a Patreon.
Well,
we don't go begging to our
too
fans
real.
for money.
Too real. Whoa. Double too real.
We do a lot of begging, but
I have a Patreon. What am I fist bumping him for?
It's not for the podcast, so it's
sure.
Yeah.
What do they call that in finance? The Chinese
we're pretty
wall
sure.
where it's separated?
We've never actually looked, but it's CRTC is for it's public broadcasting, which it's internet is not included in that as of right now.
Yeah.
So,
there is a very complicated, that I won't go into, conversation about the CRTC and web media that I've been privy to on a surface level, which is infuriating. Where you know how there's funding, right, that CRTC gives out for media projects. You know who collects a lot of funding? Telcos who run cable channels. You know who collects the funding for digital productions? Telcos who run cable channels. Who I guess need them. Anyway.
Yeah, they need the money. It's hard times, right?
They don't. That's the spoiler. they
You know, if you're a cop and you have to report us, we do have to see your badge.
I'm just looking for the reward money.
Oh, okay.
Is that a euphemism?
We've got. Thank you for your question.
Hey, no problem.
We've got a copy of the Transmissions exclusive cover. We've got a T-shirt that's in. There's 3 of them. They're only XLs.
Room to grow.
Or yours, which
See,
I think might be more
the
popular.
guy paid money to provide prizes.
He's providing the prizes that
I brought good stuff.
he did provide good stuff.
I've not seen an Inferno yet.
This is an Inferno. This
I'm
is
not keeping it.
a
I
prize
just see it.
for people.
I found an Inferno.
That's an Inferno.
So.
And this is
Coincidentally, I found 2.
yes.
If you found 3, you could have got 1 for free.
This is an
I
Inferno.
mean, I asked them at Walmart, like.
Oh no, Walmart doesn't. Walmart's too small time.
And this is Transformers Unicron #1, Alex Milne's special cover for Stadium Comics, signed by Alex and Josh Perez. Decisions. The reward for asking the first question.
Trying to decide.
Actually, we have more like 25
Hurry
minutes.
it up.
Are you holding him hostage at Shockwave?
Yes.
Yeah, this will block Shockwave.
You get a third podcast
it will.
involved. There's just
Thank you.
There's laser guns drawn.
I wouldn't threaten to shoot somebody at one of these things.
We've
That'd be
never
improper.
threatened to shoot someone with foam objects from a Nerf dart gun at any of these things, Malwave.
But does anybody have any stickers?
Not on me.
Not on me.
No one has stickers.
Are any in this box?
There might be.
No, because that's a Power of the Primes toy, so it has those really nice, super thin stickers that
right.
totally won't bind anywhere, anytime to get chewed up at all.
And are applied perfectly.
They've been generously pre-applied, is the way we like to put it.
There actually is a postage addressed envelope in there where you have to pay them for applying the stickers, so make sure you fill that out.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So, well, my question is what is the biggest challenge of like trying to run a podcast and get those sort of things going and like the logistics of it all?
Speaking for myself, the biggest challenge is, I guess, like finding the level of energy that you can maintain the podcast at. Not just in performance, but also in logistics, in editing, in a whole lot of it. Is like finding that kind of just right slope where you don't get utterly sick of it, but you're still producing it in a way that engages with at least somebody. And it's difficult because podcasting is a very difficult media to get something back out of compared to video. It's why a lot of podcasts very, very justifiably post on YouTube as well. Is you get more feedback there. Speaking on a blanket level, Transmissions is why I think they're a very special thing in that they've created a thriving community around an audio podcast, the video aspect. But yeah, like the hardest thing I think is to find a way that you can comfortably create an entertaining thing without getting burnt out. That's speaking for myself anyway.
Well, to kind of follow up on that, we with our show, we find that having the multiple hosts helps with motivating each other to kind of continue on. because, you know, like I mentioned at Chris's panel, it can get hard to, if you're doing a one-man show, you'll want to record something, or you'll record 3 episodes and be like, oh, let's go, I'm gung-ho, let's do this, and you want to record the 4th show, and you say, oh, I got to do something this night, and you'll forget, and then you'll get it done, but then the 5th show will come around, and it'll just start getting so late, and you'll by the 7th or 8th show, you're out of it. You're so far behind. It's consistency is what will get you there, and by having more people involved, a set amount that'll keep you consistent is a big deal, because consistency is key. Having a regular release time, and having it edited on time.
Yeah, we're sitting here trying to stare down Chris, but
sorry,
he's too involved.
I'm busy with my little Inferno man.
That's important. So that kind of thing. But having the people around you to keep you motivated to do the show, I think is important.
I wanted to throw one other thing in there, which I think is something that I wish happened more, and I would love to be a part of, is just having like a group of creative folks who check in on each other. We tried to set that up with the YouTube Toronto folks who were all kind of gathering a lot at the YouTube space. It ended up just falling off because, you know, it was a Slack chat, and eventually it just sort of drifts away. But it was a really solid idea to try to just check in on each other every week and go, like, it's not like a competition, but it's just to feel like each week you have to go to a group of your peers and say, this is what I've done. You don't have to have finished anything, but it's that little extra bit of spark that, like you're talking about, Daryl, where when you have people who you are working with and alongside, you feel more inspired than if you're just in a room, you know?
Yes, and you're responsible for them, and they're responsible to you, right?
Well, Aaron's just responsible for me.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
Thank
you for your question. Come on up and pick something. They're both the same. Yeah, it's exclusive. That's limited to 1,000. This one, from what I understand, is limited to 500.
For the sake of time, we can also roll with the questions while the prizes are being chosen.
Okay. Well, first off, thanks. I'm glad I didn't have to kill anybody to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just kind of rolling off of what was asked earlier, I understand that it kind of takes a lot to be able to just create something and. Without even feedback or anything like take the feedback seriously, but at the same time still be in tune with your own personal sense of whether or not it's good. Yeah. So as far as the podcasting process goes, like what are your personal like core standards and like and rankings as far as what makes your personal podcast good? Like you know, do you value it based on, you know, whether it makes you laugh, whether or not it engages you? What does it for you guys?
So one thing that I've always liked about the way that we've run our show is, and it's kind of what the original idea of it was just like getting to listen in on people sit down and talk. Now sometimes we maybe drift away from a little bit of just like a little bit more of the conversational format, but I personally enjoy podcasts that I listen to, and it's more conversational than anything else. There were a couple of podcasts about the same time that we started that thought that there was big beef because that's what you did in 2008, that were very much like, here's the top 3 items of the last week off of the website that supports us, and we're going to talk about each one of these for exactly 12 minutes and then roll on to something else. And it was like watching or listening to like a news show. And
sounds
that
like a quick path to burnout.
That was, yeah, and those guys did burn out. They lasted a couple of years, and then just there were no more releases of their podcast. Whereas it seems like the ones that are more, hey, we're friends and we riff on each other a little bit and we give each other a hard time because that's like how you do. And those to me are more entertaining to listen to, and I get a better idea of who the people are. And then on top of that, it's easier for me being able to sit down and get the chance to talk with a couple friends every other week about whatever thing and get to come to a convention and see them. And if it was more business like, it'd be, I got to go do this thing. Oh, I'd rather do anything else tonight, then go and do that. But instead it's like, oh, I got the podcast tonight and get a couple things I want to talk to my friends about. And then as long as it's a good time and we have our laughs as we do it, like, I'm happy at that point. I think we've got a pretty good groove. We know what our voice is on it, and we just keep that. I know that early on, I remember like mid 30 or 40 episode, we got some people in that podcast beef, I still think, that had left really bad reviews on iTunes for us and was like, yeah, you should go listen to this other show instead. And I like didn't read that part and was like, oh no, they think my voice cracked. Oh, and was like really down. And I hadn't learned that like sometimes you just got to be like, okay, whatever. You're gonna have your opinion. That's cool. I have my opinions. I know what I like, and that's it.
There's also a certain energy that I, as the host of the show, I really like to hear getting hit, which is a very hard energy to hit over Skype, which is a very certain conversational. I can't really put it any clearer, but like a certain conversational pace and energy that when we hit it, I get very excited because I know that this is an episode that I don't even have to think about listening through any parts of. I'm just like, no, I can just fire this off. As opposed to like, sometimes we're all very tired, and there used to be more regularly that every episode at some point we'd all get very tired. So I started trimming out things. I got rid of new picture pics. I got rid of everyone having to talk about everything that they got this week, or at least more so tried to imply you don't have to talk about everything you got this week.
Oh, do you mean that you cut off like actual from the editing perspective?
Well, no.
I
stopped putting them in the show notes.
Yeah, basically. For our show, we used to have a new pictures pick where everybody would go like down the last 7 or 8 days of what's come out, and then like, hey, this excites me, and then we talk about it, and it might be something that like Chris is super excited about, but I don't care, and so he's like, yeah, what do you think, Aaron? Yeah.
It's also why I try to, it's hard, I say read the room, this is very hard to do over Skype, but if I'm talking about something I got, which I'm really excited about, and I can tell, okay, no one's reacting, I will just then immediately throw over to the next person. I'm not going to go like, all right, well, what do you think about my special thing? And they're like, I haven't seen it. Okay, what if you had seen it? Oh, Daryl, like, what about you guys? Like, what do you have as, like, I guess a standard in a way?
Well, our standard, it's we're regimented. We have a standard format for both our shows, and it's followed fairly, regularly. But with regards, mostly, I was going to comment on the regards of the like criticisms and stuff like that, just because you're going to get them, and you deal with them. If you even wanted to deal with them, every criticism there might be a shred of like construction in there, constructive criticism. So you can take that if you want. If it's somebody just trying to troll you, you got to learn to read a troll, right? See a troll, for where they are.
And you think reading the room in a Skype chat is hard? This is actually even harder, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, I would know.
So if you can tell when someone's trolling you or someone's just trying to get you, to, acknowledge their trolliness on your podcast, that's important.
It's a new goal for me now.
Every time I'm on transmissions,
sitting and troll the podcast.
Anyone here want to talk about wrestling? What was the other one? Was it Donatreon, or was that now been accepted?
Donor. Charles's go button is donors.
He said Donatreon though.
He did.
He's conceded that word. Yes. he can't fight all the battles. Thank you though. Thank you very much. Come on up,
Sergio. I wanted to throw over you just for a second.
You're definitely an extra large, right?
Obviously, you're a listener to or you're a big fan of transmissions, but like. From a listener perspective, just quickly, like, is there one thing that you really expect out of a podcast?
I think very much picking off of what you had said with the sort of freeform conversation and the conversation of friends that's been edited down or been like cherry-picked, because there are podcasts that follow that same form where it's literally a conversation that was recorded between friends. And you're like, so you left everything in there, huh? It's like a 3-hour podcast, right? But when you have sort of like this mid-regimented style, it makes it a lot easier to listen with, to engage with. In the same form that Transmissions has a format, it doesn't mean that they don't deviate from it or that there isn't a lot of fun that can be had. It's even from the listener's perspective, it's that variety of going from like regimented here to a little more freeform with WTF and the absolute nonsense that goes on at Moonbase 2.
Those guys are just a complete hurricane of feces flying out of a funnel-shaped hat. But I love them. Who?
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 Cheer.
I'm only mean because I love them.
I still subscribe to them. I keep waiting.
I still got the Mark Wahlberg one on here.
I was just on Moonbase 2's Woo Woo Patreon show.
Oh, it's so good.
About Kamen Rider Exade's finale movie and double finale movie with Heisei Generations. So please go check that out, and don't tell them I said the thing about the funnel hat feces hurricane. Or if you do, tell them I said it about Mikey and not Andy.
You know we are going to publish this, right?
Mm-hmm. Of course we are.
You just told them.
Well, do you think they listen?
Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Go ahead.
What's the most difficult part of editing a podcast?
You get so tempted to comb through the thing with a little comb going, all right, where's a pause, where's an where's an ah? And then after 2 years of doing that, you go like, man, I despise podcast editing. And then you leave it out once. You're like, I'm going to show them all. I'm going to leave all the ums. And then no one says anything. And you're like, wait, they never noticed. They didn't. No one knew about all the glorious work I was doing. That's to me the hardest part.
I don't do any of the editing on our show. We found a listener who decided he would like to edit our show for us for nothing, and we graciously accepted his offer. There was a time recently where he had to bow out for about a year or so we did take it over again. But yeah, that was rough. Because the guys, Jeremy and Charles, they did the editing, and they were a little stressed. But yeah, no, the guy who does our editing, he can edit both of our shows because we do two shows a week. He can edit both of our shows in less than 3 hours. He's a monster.
It takes me less than 3 hours when I actually do it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, all right. But that's one show, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's editing both shows. Yeah.
I mean, I'm editing both the even and odd number shows.
Ooh. Are we measuring dicks now?
I don't need to. I have a bumblebee. Here, listen. Whose is bigger?
He's got you there.
Mine.
It's true. I can't do it. Thank you very much. Come on up.
Who handles the editing on your show?
I think it was Eric's roommate does the editing. So.
Well, thank you, Eric's roommate.
So if you have a really nice fan or an Eric's roommate,
yes,
find one.
Props to Snazzy Mike.
I want to first start off by saying thank you to all of you guys for giving me something to listen to.
You're welcome.
Driving around in the car constantly where I live. Without you guys, it would make the amount of traveling I have to do an incredibly mundane ordeal.
You're welcome.
The first question I have, and like real quick. First, if there were any other subject other than Transformers that you can do a podcast about that you have a big passion for, what would your podcast be about other than Transformers? And my second one, and then I'll let you guys go. I thought I saw Big Charles here at one point.
Oh, we mentioned at the top of the show he had an emergency come up yesterday and had to take off schedule.
Because I think I somehow became his stand-in.
Oh no!
Well, what the hell? Get up here!
People have been.
No, that's like $90.
I've had very unusual conversations this weekend where people will come up to me and start speaking to me.
I like that's the most polite way I've heard that put. Very unusual conversations.
And I begin to realize that. One lady asked me like, "Oh, well, what's that name of that podcast you're on?" I'm like, "Oh no, I'm not on a podcast." But I think I know who you're speaking of. So tell him he owes me some residuals.
He owes you plenty.
Body double.
That's amazing. I love that. I love it so much. Oh, fantastic.
Remember Surrogate Aaron? Is he here? Is Surrogate Aaron here?
Right up front.
He's right here. Oh, you're with the different hair. I just remembered you as someone else.
Oh my God.
That's like the third person I've heard also make that comment.
Oh.
Which pushes him deeper into the Mirror Universe version.
Yeah, you've grown your hair longer.
Because the hair is clean. We're both with goatees, although I did show him my shaved face things.
Hey, sorry,
you don't want to see that shaved face picture.
We've seen the doppelganger effect occur before.
It's really nice that you brought your brother.
To answer your question, though, I've toyed around with the idea of starting another podcast, a one-man show. And to answer the question that was about earlier about motivation, I had this motivation about 9 months ago and have not recorded a single episode of it. Actually, I did record episode number one 3 times, and it has not seen the light of day. So there's...
What was the topic?
The topic
Since that was actually the question.
The topic is Marvel Comics and about first appearances of characters and stuff like that. I'm trying to be a little different, but yeah. So
you're going to try to do that on your own?
I'm going to try to do it on my own because I have a very large comic book collection.
You brought half of it here to get some.
I did. Yes.
I've been on the opposite. The reason why I laughed earlier about that, I've been on the opposite side. Like I do kind of small press comment.
Yeah.
And I've had people suddenly bring like a giant pal and ask me to sign. So that just popped in my head. It's hilarious when people do that.
Yeah.
I just want to quickly throw out there, I would do a Tokusatsu podcast in a heartbeat if I felt like I had the energy to like edit and run another second podcast. And if I ever...
I want in on that.
A lot of people want to do a Tokusatsu podcast, me included. Darn it.
Will you edit his second podcast?
If I were to do another podcast, it would probably just be, I'd pick up Vaudio Sonic again as a podcast I did a couple episodes of where it was just about anything with people I knew, and I would like to get back into doing that someday. If I ever step back from WTF and TFW, that's where I would go, is going back to doing Vaudio Sonic as me. Okay. Everyone, by the way, should have to edit a podcast at least once. I think it's like a rule of passage.
If I were to do another one, it could definitely be Lego.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, thanks. You stole my answer.
Yeah. Well, hey, how many modulars do you have?
Welcome to the new Lego podcast with AKSMTH and underscore Seuss. He's
What's your modular count? Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Am I supposed to hear this?
Just ask someone that in public.
Yeah, it's personal information.
Come on, there are children here.
We were measuring infernos earlier. And
what's your modular account? How many pieces you got in your brick bucket?
Is hotel security still here?
Did you get handed from your cousin?
FYI, we have about 7 minutes left.
I have a lot of Lego space.
But how much how much of it was handed to you from your cousin?
From my cousin?
Come on
None
up.
of it.
Exactly.
All of it was stuff that was mine.
What's up? What's your question that isn't about Lego?
Thanks. My question would be, besides the obvious Transformer fans, is there like a specific target of audience you aim at with your podcasts, or is it just
whoever will hit subscribe?
Yeah, I used to think about, we're going to hit those mid-20s with our Smodcast-style banter. And then I realized that, A, the fandom has changed a lot, and also our audience is wide-reaching in a way as far as age demographics. So
yeah, I remember, I think it was the last TFcon that was at the other location, having somebody that was way too young, I would have thought, to be excited about listening to a Transformers podcast come up to me and want me to sign their iPod because that's what they listened to it on, and that was the first time I had like a moment of just like, you want me to, it's just my signature that's going to make it worse, right? Oh no, that's what I listened to you on, and it really mean a lot. It's like, okay.
I think of ourselves as the podcast that primarily, legal adults listen to, but that also, if you were a clever young teenager like me, you'd also be listening to, because these guys talk about things like, one of them once said horse nuts, and this one time one of them said rectum, and that's a medical word, but it's not swearing, so I can't get in trouble. Apparently.
Like I mentioned earlier, we do have our explicit tag, and we earn it. So.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
So our podcast is definitely, suited for the people that will use those words. And
there was 3 this past weekend.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah. That's our target demographic. Honestly, I think that if I use them quite a bit myself, but mostly Yoshi on the show. He's the swearer, but if we could calm ourselves down, I think we would double our audience. It's almost a deterrent to have that explicit tag. Yeah, but no, that's our main audience. Yeah, foul-mouthed sailors.
I like to think that our audience is more the younger side of the fandom, just because everyone on our show is in either their late teens or like their early 20s. So
you guys swear all the time, then?
No.
It's just boobies everywhere.
Boobies. Eric doesn't let us.
That's a good question. Thank you. Come on up.
Thank you.
He rules our podcast with an iron fist.
Aaron doesn't let us.
Thanks, man.
Hashtag too cool to wait. No, what is it? Too real to steal.
Too real to steal?
Too real to steal.
Is that me?
No, that's Aaron. He stole the cheese.
Oh.
Anyways, what do you think of like should the Street Fighter X Transformers, should they have like a continuity at all?
I would have loved to see some goofy kind of dumbass fiction to go like along the lines of the Eva Evangelion cross Transformers stuff, where they were like, what if Starscream was an angel? Just go with the crossover. Like be as dumb as possible. I really wanted to see just one piece of fiction that said the Titan Masters are literally the Street Fighters. This is Ken just curling into a ball and slamming headfirst into a socket, and a face grows out of his back.
Okay, going off that, I just had this thought. Have them redo the Marvel Transformers crossovers as Headmasters, where the little Headmasters are just the Avengers or the X-Men or whatever superhero it is.
Yeah.
Yes, I would be down.
Like when you do crossover fiction, the best crossover fiction is when they don't take it seriously, but they still they take the science seriously.
Yeah.
So it's like the one G.I. Joe Transformers crossover book where it was like, what if there was a Matrix-powered broadcast energy transmitter to summon Unicron to Cobra Law? And it was the best crossover book that I had seen in a good long time.
Just that Takara takes everything seriously. It's just all the same G1 timeline.
Yeah. That kind of stuff. Like they take it seriously in that the science is set, but that the stories they're telling are not at all trying to talk down to you with a higher message. They're like, what if Skywarp got demigod powers but was too stupid to use them? Is my favorite alternity thing.
And I have 2 more questions.
Nope. All right, we got like 3 minutes, so
I'll make it.
Okay.
I'll make it
quick.
Fast as possible. Can I have a shout out? I know that's kind of awkward.
Shout outs to the Street Fighter question asker.
Yeah.
Yep. Sorry, I was on the spot.
Yeah, if you want to know my username,
sure.
It is HIROBRINE So
all right.
It's basically Hero Brian TDM. And no, it's like a Street Fighter thing now. And what? No, Aaron, why'd you steal the cheese and stink out the whole place?
You're jamming cheese in your armpits.
Yeah, no, that's
why the customs officer pulled you over.
That was not me. Right. No, there were other bad Aaron Smiths out there apparently, because Smith is a common last name.
I think
yesterday by the shelf light, and he walked by there and he cut one.
He
cut one.
Confirmed fart. Yeah. TFcon 2018. You know what's a fun word,
I have been behind some of those crop dusters before and just been like, dude, there's a hallway or.
I had my mouth open. Oh God.
Malwave, no!
And damn you, podcast editing.
100%. All right, Malwave, you're the finisher and you gotta be quick.
And good.
All right. So it's more a question just asking for advice, given I'm running a podcast, been on a hiatus, and my audio engineer is just like all about quality. You know, like, problem is it takes about a month to release. So the question I have is, how would you if you were in this situation, how would you handle this? Would you prefer to keep it on quality and have sporadic releases, but it sounds amazing? Or would you rather take less time and then...
I'm not going to step in front of Chris here, but I am. So one of the things, you're also an engineer, you know the Pareto principle, right?
Yes.
Where like 80-20,
Yeah.
You got to find that right split point of, like Chris was saying earlier, is anybody going to notice the ums, uhs, ands, uhs, or pauses versus not?
Yeah.
If you're doing something and you've got like, you know, TV really has to trim that stuff down because they've got, what is it now, like 40 minutes, 41 minutes per hour that's showtime. So you do have to do some of that slice and dice. Okay. Podcast is more freeform. So if there's a natural pause to conversation that happened for a reason, that's what you do.
Can I just say this basically to your editor? Yeah. I'll just bullet it here. No one is doubting your skill. Everyone appreciates your skill. People want you to be happy editing this, but also, would you be up for just trying out a quicker 1-week edit? And let's put it out and see if people complain. And then if people don't complain and you guys really like the flow, you might even say, hey, maybe do you want to try doing like a 3-day edit and just trim the front and back a whole lot more? And just dial it back to the point where your editor still feels not just useful, but feels wanted and feels appreciated and feels like they're doing something satisfying, while also, and you may be saying this bluntly if it becomes a problem, that you don't want the editor to become burnt out, and you don't want the editor to start to loathe editing the show. Because that is the thing with podcast editing, basically. It's kind of like what we said before. You need to find the balance where you like editing the show, but you don't grow to hate it, but you still feel satisfied with it.
Okay. And it's just a quick little question there.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. When you have different audio qualities from different microphones, how do you even those out?
You get the other people to buy better mics. That's what we do.
Well then.
And then you shame them so hard, and you keep saying, man, sorry, I can't hear you through that Kleenex crinkling potato you have attached to your computer. And then when they reply to you, you say, hang on, let me just even the odds here.
What I thought you said was that you were wondering if your microphone was any good?
You have to be friends with the other podcasters, obviously. If you just do that to a random stranger. If I did that to Sergio right now, like, yeah, Sergio, nice mic form, nice embouchure, noob.
But I bought a Blue Yeti.
Chris, you're assuming I have friends.
You should go tell Jeremy you said that.
The levelator works well. If you are using different microphones and you're getting different audio levels and somebody's way up high and somebody's way down low, levelator is built into some of the software. I think Audacity has it actually built into it. So just levelate at the end of everything. If you're cropping the end off, cropping the top, front off, and throwing bumpers in, levelate when that's all done.
Okay.
There's a couple shows out there that I listen to that you can tell that they've not done that because the stuff at the front is like super loud, and then it comes in and so it calms down at the end. But levelate.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
And we really have to call it there. So I wanted to throw a huge thanks to all of you for coming out. And can I throw one more big thanks to Sergio, who dropped $90 for charity to join us up here.
And I'd like to say sorry that you had to pay that much.
Also, huge thanks to _Zeus for joining us for the first time for these roundtables. And thanks to Daryl for especially picking up the slack when Charles had to take off to handle some stuff back home.
That's okay.
Thanks to Aaron for being my wonderful handler who pushes all the people out of the way. And pardon?
Hashtag Chris 2.
Hashtag Chris 2.
He's like a negative 2. He is the negative.
Negative Chris.
Thanks to Aaron for being anti-Chris.
Shattered glass Chris.
And I hope you all have a good trip back to wherever you're going, unless you're not going till tomorrow, in which case have a wonderful evening here, I assume.
Drive safe.
We got to pack up, and we probably should just head out as soon as possible so the AV can pack up as well. If you want to catch up with us, we'll be on our way out in the hallway. But we got to give the AV guys the chance to actually get this gear packed up.
And if anybody got any of the Transmissions exclusive covers, Big C is here to sign them.
Dark?